Hey, it's Olivia with Brighter Connections Counseling, and today I want to talk with you a little bit about anxiety. So, I don't know if you've ever been in a house that has a really sensitive smoke detector, and even if you're just doing something like taking a shower and there's a lot of steam that comes out of the bathroom, the smoke detector will go off. Or someone's cooking and it's like the food is not even burnt, but the smoke detector will go off. Well, there's a part of the brain that's a lot like that sensitive smoke detector. So I'm going to use my hand as a hand model to kind of help illustrate some things that are going on in the brain when we're talking about anxiety. So this upper part here represents the frontal lobe. So there's this upper part of the brain that deals with things like reasoning, logic, thinking, planning, just making sense of things, creativity, empathy. And then inside the brain, inside the center here, is something called the amygdala. It's about the size of an almond. Folks with high anxiety, brain scans actually show that this amygdala is bigger. So you've got this is the smoke detector. So you've got this big smoke detector going off in your brain. The amygdala is responsible for a handful of things. It holds memories of bad things that have happened, and it sends alerts and this alarm signal out to the system, alerts for danger. So having a smoke detector is of course a really good thing. I mean, an actual smoke detector, because it can alert you if there's an actual fire. But many times, due to things like trauma, genetics, and so on, that smoke detector in the brain is going off on times when it's just toast. It's not an actual fire. There's not actual danger or a threat. It's not an emergency, but it's still sounding the alarm. And so when this happens, the body floods with hormones like adrenaline, cortisol, serotonin, which prepare the body for some kind of survival action. So down beneath here on my hand model, down towards the bottom, is the brain stem, or represents the brain stem. So this is the part of the brain that deals with survival. And these, of course, are automatic responses. This part of the brain is not going to consult with the upper brain to think, okay, let's think about this, let's plan this out. In fact, the upper brain, as you see my fingers flip up here, it starts to go offline. And so these signals that are going off from the amygdala are just going to get accepted as real without passing those checkpoints, those security checks from the frontal lobe. And of course, when the amygdala is sounding its alarms, we're wired to listen to it because this is a survival mechanism in the brain. And so you're going to be compelled to engage in certain behaviors when your alarm signal starts to sound. Your trigger has been activated, your alarm signal is going, you're going to be compelled to engage in certain kinds of behaviors, like avoiding things. So it might depend on what your trigger is, but we might avoid, we might take extra precautions, we might double check what's in our purse. Do I have my wallet? Do I have my wallet even though you put your wallet in? Did I turn off the stove? Did I turn off the stove? I have to go and check even though you remembered that you did turn off the stove. It's like, did I? I have to check. So we'll do something when that alarm is sounded. We'll do something to soothe or avoid or somehow alleviate that alarm system. So the thing is that engaging in those response behaviors actually completes the circuit, and it tells the amygdala that, yeah, you were right. There was something dangerous to act on, and I handled it, I acted, and I did something. And so what happens is, and I'm sure you know this if you are already dealing with anxiety, is that the amygdala will remember that. And so the next time when that trigger happens, it's like, oh, it's that thing again that's happening. I remembered this has happened before. I have to sound my alarms. This is a threat. You have to do something about it. So it's going to sound the alarm again, and maybe even more so. It might even escalate and become even more urgent. So the key here, so what do we do about it? The key here in dealing with anxiety and this alarm response cycle is we want to retrain the amygdala to not sound the alarm for certain stimuli. So to not flag certain things as threats or as dangerous. And the way that we can do that, one way we can do that, is by not engaging in those response or soothing behaviors. So by not responding to it in the way that we did before. And over time, this actually tells the amygdala that this is not really a threat, and that you don't need to flag this trigger as being threatening. And over time, it will stop sounding those alarms for that particular trigger. I hope that you found that interesting and that helped kind of put things into perspective of what's going on in the brain when your own alarm system starts to sound.